Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. You sick of hearing that yet? Let's crack on with today's first story. Today's first story comes from Scary Monsters 444. It does cross a couple of subreddits raised by Narcissist and Am I the A-hole, and it's titled My Mother's Online Boyfriend. So I know most people here aren't professionals, but I'd like to know if this signifies a toxic relationship because sometimes I'm not sure. Background: I'm 21 and still live with my mother. I have a job, contribute financially and save money whenever possible. But anyway, I'm currently stuck here. I never had a support system outside of my mother growing up and didn't get a real job until I turned 20. I knew about her boyfriend before she told me because she talked to him constantly. I couldn't get her undivided attention when we'd sit down and have a conversation. She mentioned to him that she'd let him move in with us. I never imagined it had happened so quickly. We just finished our Christmas dinner and she tells me at 8 p.m. that he's coming here to visit for Christmas and will arrive at midnight. I go to my room by 10 p.m. and by 6 p.m. the next day, he's still here. I go and ask her why he's still here and she says he lives with us now. Some background information on his situation. He is 49 with an 8-year-old daughter in another state. He terminated his lease in preparation to move in with us, but stayed with his daughter during Christmas. He couldn't renew his lease, so he's moving in with us as an emergency and came here with no job and no money saved. To me, this shoots off red flags left and right. Additionally, he has prior assault charges that my mother wrote off as he was young and stupid, but never specified exactly what happened and says we should be thankful he was honest about it. I've never met this man in my life and now I'm told that he's living with us, just like that. My bedroom door does not close properly and the only working shower is connected to a bedroom, which he's already made himself at home in. Regardless of whether or not she's done her due diligence, I am not comfortable. I tell her this and that I'd preferred to meet him in a public place where I'd feel less vulnerable. The following happens. First, she says it's not my place to say anything because it's her house and I don't pay her enough to complain. Not for lack of trying. She often won't take my money unless she's in a pinch. She then says it's her boyfriend and she deserves to be happy and that things don't always go my way. Next, she admits it was inconsiderate but says she is incapable of disrespecting me in her house because only she can be disrespected in this case. She actually said this almost word for word. She's mad that I didn't sit and have dinner with him or come to present myself to him at all. She, air quotes, apologizes by saying, "I'm sorry you feel that way, but you don't get to make any demands here." I tell her that I don't accept her apology because nothing about it is genuine and she isn't acting very sorry. She begins screaming that nothing she does is good enough for me and employs the tried and true, "I know I wasn't the best mother, but I worked hard to put a roof over your head" routine she does every single time I have any grievance with her. Furthermore, she speculates that I'm jealous, can't accept her happiness and have no room in my heart for anybody else. I don't respond. After a stretch of silence, she gets weepy and says she's going to kick him out because she's used to not being happy anyway. Tells me to just leave the way my brother did because clearly she's always the problem. He's still here, and she is acting as if her previous outburst didn't happen. I wonder if I overreacted, and I know I've never been quick to accept change, but I feel uncomfortable in my own house. Currently, she's inviting him into every aspect of our lives and getting peed that I don't like it. And as I said, OP also put this in the Am I the A-hole subreddit with much of the information the same, the last paragraph was slightly different to what we just read. And it says, "I admit I was quite cold to her after that and acted cordial, but mostly indifferent with this new fellow. I also pushed back at her attempt to include him in quite literally everything we do. This all infuriated her. Several times she's gotten weepy and says she's being forced to choose between her boyfriend and her daughter, but she'd do it for me because she's used to not being happy. I knew she was bluffing and tried to be stone-faced through all this crying, and he's still here. Did I overreact?" And we'll cover the Am I the A-hole comments in a moment, but no, I don't think you're overreacting at all. You know, your mum's just moved in a complete stranger to you and you don't feel safe around this person because you don't know them. You know they've got a bit of a history. And of course, people, they do change over time, they can change over time, but you don't know this person. It's just as simple as that to me. And for your mum to totally disregard those feelings, it just sounds like she's only taking into consideration her wants and needs, and yours don't really matter. But Gypsy Nick says, no, you didn't overreact. She just moved someone in that you don't know and just expects you to be okay with it. If you can get out, let her see what she has brought into her life and bed. OP responds and says, I really am concerned for her safety and sanity. This 50-year-old man uprooted his entire life at the drop of a hat and came into our lives. She thinks it's so romantic. How is that not alarming to a grown woman? Carrie Chan replies to that and says, women will also make terrible decisions for sex, just like men. She sounds like she's stigmatized. New word in the vocab. TCTX says, not the a-hole, get the heck out of there ASAP. She's about to find out she's invited a complete lout into her life, lest by some happy twist he's actually a decent guy. OP responds saying he's renovating our decrepit house. It's very generous of him. Too generous. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop because I have trust issues. I can tell he has some obsessive tendencies and is really pushy about some albeit helpful things being done his way when he wants. TCT replies and says, yeah, I don't blame you. I'd keep an eye on him. Does your mum have a lot of money? OP says she makes a modest middle-class income. She's in law enforcement and he readily told her he got an assault charge when he was in his 20s. She brushed it off as everybody does stupid things when they are young. At least he admitted it. But she won't give me details. It could be a one-off bar fight or domestic dispute. I don't know. Reality fan says, and can you get a lock fitted on your bedroom door? Edit until you can move. OP responds saying she'd never allow it. The lock that's on it is the useless push pin kind that you can pick with a piece of dry spaghetti. I can't even lock that because she thinks it's disrespectful and I have no reason to feel unsafe. Usually Wright says, oh, your mum found a hobosexual. Your mum needs some professional help if this seems like a good idea to her. Yikes. Not the a-hole for being uncomfortable and saying so. OP responds saying, she says I'm judging him without knowing anything about him and I'm just trying to undermine her happiness. Her reasoning, you're nice to random strangers you meet on the sidewalk but not him. Apparently, I don't bring them into the house isn't a valid response. OP then adds a couple more relevant comments in the post and says, I've been doing a lot of research on abusive parent dynamics and I don't like to make armchair diagnosis, but my mother has strong cluster B personality disorder tendencies, and it explains why so many things I remember her doing made me so angry, but I couldn't explain why. And it's still there, like I stored it in my body. I wasn't sure about it until my brother was finally a willing witness to one of her meltdowns at me. That's why he left. Now, I'm far from being a staunch feminist and harbour my own homemaking Christian household fantasies, but this man is most definitely a chauvinist. He will not touch anything in the kitchen, even make his own coffee. He asked my mother for a beer during a movie and has her hold it for him so he can hold all of his snacks. If I'm carrying something very light that I'm not struggling with by any stretch, i.e. just taking the kitchen trash outside, he will take it from me without a word and won't take no for an answer. He comes into my room to turn on my heater when I'm not there because he thinks I'm not staying warm. He insists on knowing where I am at all times and gets upset if he doesn't get to watch me eat. When he's home, he expects my mother to be in bed when he is. No exceptions. He always has something to say about her driving, no matter how safe it is. Always. It's not cute. It's not gentlemanly. I'm not a child. At least overly traditionalist men have jobs. Someone responds and says, get your door fixed immediately. OP responds and says, actually, that man fixed my door. It was very nice of him and I thanked him. He still makes me uncomfortable. Another mini update flies into the comments and says, F man, I looked up his first name into his state's crime database and got a hit for a man with the same first name, an almost identical mugshot, and the height, age, etc. all add up. 4 counts of burglary and 3 counts of narcotic possession. I only know a first name. I asked his last name and she said it's none of my business. Next mini update says, at first I was surprised at how cut and dry this seemed to be to third parties, but now I'm not. There have been new developments and things are so much worse than I initially thought. In the next update, OP explains why they haven't left. And OP says, the first time I left my mother, I returned and found laid out in the living room a very long note with suicidal implications, plus financial information as if it was a will, saying roughly, "Do not weep for me. This is a natural course of things as I've been fighting demons all my life." I told myself that I would only stay in this world until my children no longer need me, and admission that she sometimes did many of the things I said she did, hailed by a claim that she just wanted to toughen me up, saying I held the family together. Next to it was an old prescription bottle of half-empty antibiotics that wouldn't really do much if you took a large dose at once. I looked it up. I told her I found the note and read it. She acted as if it was no big deal, and honestly, it's the only reason I haven't moved out and cut contact with her. Opie then posts another update and says, "My mother apologized with a good old, 'I'm sorry you feel that way, but you.' And for the first time I told her point blank that I don't accept her apology because it isn't genuine and broke down why. She interpreted this as me being ungrateful and apologies meaning nothing to me. When I told her that I'm not in fact attacking her, she told me I'm gaslighting her. That's when I realized there was no getting through to her the way she is now." OP's final update says, "I apologize if this ends up being longer than the first. A lot has changed in that month or so. Many new things came to light in only a few days. A few people asked me there for an update post, and I decided to put it on my own profile for followers to see so that it doesn't take up the space in the subreddit. I'll try to keep it brief. Within less than a week of this guy being here, my mother changed his address to our house. I thought this was a terrible idea because he did not yet have a job, but he has residence rights. I treat him as a roommate. I speak if spoken to, but I stay out of his way. I thought that would be sufficient. The next few weeks she tells me that she can't believe I'm so inconsiderate. My attitude is inexcusable, and he's family whether I like it or not. She makes this convoluted speculation that I'm plotting to undermine their happiness. I had to admit to some very unpleasant experiences in order to justify being upset with a strange man in my house. She somehow managed to make this about herself. He's not a stranger to her. She can't believe I don't feel safe confiding in her, and it's okay for me to hold a grudge because she'll always love me. I got to the mailbox before he could, find his full name and looked him up. He has 9 felony convictions, mostly fast money crimes and animal cruelty. Some dropped assault charges and several restraining order violations. I sat on this information until I left. The night before I left, he was trying to help me buy a car. I never asked him to. In my state, I cannot renew my expired permit and need to hold on to a new one for 6 months until I can get my license. So I wouldn't be able to register it for half a year. Plus, I wanted to save my money. He found a very nice car and took out $500 at an ATM. He said he was flat broke to put down on it as I couldn't access all my funds on a bank holiday. I told him that I didn't want the car because it would have been all my savings and that he should have asked me first. He tells me this car is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and makes a big deal about me not appreciating his help, claiming he could drive the car until I got my license. His car is barely a car. He admitted to investing all of his funds into boats and motorcycles. I tell him that clearly we simply have different priorities, but he needs to respect that it's my money. He broke up with my mother 3 times in the course of a weekend over this decision. Somehow, she does not see any red flags here. The next day, my cat needs an emergency operation, which eats up a good 75% of my savings, but I'm glad I still had the money. My boyfriend tells me I should have put the cat down and brought the car. The place I'm at does not allow pets. I hate that I had to leave my cats behind, but I can only trust she will take care of them. I tried to pay my ex-boyfriend to help me move all that I could pack. He wouldn't take the money and left sometime in the evening. I sent her an email before I did, as she wasn't at home. At 4 a.m, I get a call and a string of frantic texts begging me to come back. No judgment, no screaming. I decline, because I would never get such an offer if she still had control over me. She insists that I ran away, via climbing through a window and abandoned the family. I told her 1, I didn't run away. I'm an adult, I just walked out. 2, it's her mess, not mine. 3, he is not family, and trying to impose him upon me had only one possible outcome. Anyway, I've moved out and I'm now low contact with her, looking for another job. My skin is clearing up. Life is great. No, really, it's wonderful. Now, I'm gonna turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from a throwaway account and says, am I the a-hole for not inviting my daughter to dinner after she called my girlfriend a gold digger? I've never been particularly close with my daughter. After me and her mum divorced when she was 13, I saw her maybe once every 2 to 3 months and on birthdays and holidays. I do blame myself for that. After the divorce, I went into a sort of midlife crisis, although I was only in my early 30s. Over the last few years, I've dated quite a few women, but I wouldn't class any of those relationships as serious. 6 months ago, I started dating my current girlfriend. About 6 weeks ago, I invited most of my family out to dinner. My daughter, my siblings, and their partners, my parents. I felt like our relationship was at a point where I wanted to introduce her as my girlfriend to the family, and everyone seemed to like her. We had a fun dinner, but then after a few glasses of wine, me and my daughter got into this small argument. I honestly don't even remember what it was about, and during the argument, she called my girlfriend a gold digger and left shortly after. She generally just ruined the whole dinner. I'm not delusional. I know one of the reasons that my girlfriend is with me is money, and I assume everyone else in the family knows that too. Same way, one of the reasons I'm with my girlfriend are her looks. Last weekend, I threw a small indoor barbecue dinner at my house, and I again invited most of my family, and a few friends and some of my girlfriend's friends. But I didn't invite my daughter. She very obviously doesn't like my girlfriend, and I didn't want a repeat of the last situation. However, when my daughter found out she wasn't invited, afterwards she sent me some angry messages calling me a selfish, narcissist prick. And for whatever reason, one of my sisters has taken her side and said I should have invited her. So, was I the a-hole for not inviting her? I gotta admit, a part of this had me chuckling, and I'm not sure if anyone else spotted it, but you went, my daughter called my girlfriend a gold digger and then left shortly after. And in the very next paragraph, you went, I'm not delusional. I know she is with me for the money. It's like, what? And Remarkable Inchworm spotted the same and said, so you're acknowledging that she's with you at least partly for your money, but your daughter doesn't have the right to share that opinion. Enjoy being a sugar daddy, I guess, since it's clear you don't have any interest in a real relationship with your kid. You're the a-hole. Sufficient Cat says in quotes, but then after a few glasses of wine, me and my daughter got into this small argument. I honestly don't even remember what it was about, and during the argument she called my girlfriend a gold digger and left shortly after. She generally just ruined the whole dinner. Then goes on to say, I bet she remembers what the argument was about. So she can forgive your midlife crisis making you drop out of her life and become a deadbeat dad, but you cut her out of your life for calling your gold digger girlfriend a gold digger during an argument. It really doesn't take much for you to leave her, does it? You're the a-hole, obviously. Luxville says you're the a-hole. So you're dating a younger woman for her looks and she's dating you for money. Why are you so offended when your daughter is right? You are a selfish narcissist prick. If you've essentially abandoned her for her entire teenage years and now you're trying to introduce your sugar baby to the family as a serious relationship, she's closer to your daughter's age than your own. Then you throw a party and disinvite her because you were hurt from her telling you the honest truth of the situation that you agree with. You were too drunk too and don't even remember the conversation. I get that you don't care about how much you hurt your daughter, but Jesus guy, do better. And one more comment from I'm Stealing the Towel to quotes, but then after a few glasses of wine, me and my daughter got into this small argument. I don't honestly remember what it was about, and then says, so you don't remember what your argument was about, yet you're sure she's the one who ruined dinner. Wow. Also, this dismissive crap just sums up your entire attitude towards your daughter. I bet she remembers what the argument was about, just like she remembers how you were hardly there for her while you were off having your midlife crisis. Quotes again saying I didn't invite my daughter. She very obviously doesn't like my girlfriend. I didn't want to repeat of the last situation. He goes on to say, I'm willing to bet that the last situation had far more to do with you being a crappy absent father than how she feels about your girlfriend, who is clearly a symptom of who you are and how you behaved. I'm also willing to bet that you haven't attempted to contact your daughter following the argument you had to see if you can talk it through. Instead, you're doing what you've spent the last 6 years doing, pushing her away. You can invite whoever you like to your dinner, but don't pretend that the reason you didn't invite your daughter is because you're upset at the fact that she thinks you are selfish, because your entire OP is full of examples that prove her right, and you know it. You're the a-hole. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, support, and time always means the absolute world to me, so thank you so much. And don't forget, at the end of the video, there'll be a couple of playlists there for you that you can click on and will automatically scroll through all the videos for you. So whatever you're up to, walking, chilling, driving, bit of craft, bit of drawing, whatever it is, don't forget to let me know over on Twitter. It will continue to scroll through for you. Thank you so much. Much love to you, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care.